Now, weeks after President Bola Tinubu confirmed the removal of the popular but costly fuel subsidy, Nigerians are still reeling from the consequences of that removal. And today, Nigerians woke up to see the pump price of premium motor spirits, popularly called petrol, increase to above 500 Naira in both Abuja and Lagos. It is actually selling now for about 537 Naira per litre to about 617 Naira per litre at some filling stations which are operated by the NNPCL in Abuja. Now, while independent oil marketers confirm the increase in the cost of the commodity, they've said any shift in price by the NNPCL stations was an indication of a rise in the pump price of PMS. Since the withdrawal of subsidy on petrol and the floating of the Naira against the dollar, marketers have continued to explain that the cost of PMS could rise to as high as 700 Naira per litre. Joining me now is public affairs analyst Dr. Catch Ononaju. Dr. Ononaju, welcome to Business Edge is on my mind. Welcome to Politics HQ. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me.
So let's start with this increase in particular. There are those who feel like they've become prophets of doom because they've said something like this was on this way. It's not totally unexpected, but the concern at the forefront for many is how high can the price actually go? So while Ipman says it has no plans to increase to 700 Naira, they may really not have a choice depending on market forces. So if the situation with international crude oil prices remains the same and the Naira continues to depreciate, how high do you think we should expect to see the PMS price in the coming weeks and even months?
Well, what I can tell you is we seem to still be reeling with the politics and the economic policies of the APC administration. The reasons for this, I said earlier, the NNPC should come clean about the pricing, the different calculations that goes into the total pump price. Let's have it. There are a lot. What is the price when the product lands at the port in Apapa? And what are the add-ons that are put on it before it gets to the pump? Let us look at that and see how much money the federal government is putting on top as tax. And let's see if we can start to remove those taxes and then begin to understand how we can ameliorate the pains that we now have. I will tell you, the problems we have are consequences of the bad policies of the APC administration. One, the fuel has been imported. Two, because of mismanagement and the need to continue to import so as to make money for the middle people, our petroleum refining capacities have been undermined, and that our refineries are not working. Remember what the APC said when they came in 8 years ago. They were going to build a refinery for every single calendar year. Now we don't have no refinery, and we're having prices now, and we were told that Dangote refinery will come on stream. Now all that is a scam. Dangote refinery, we've now found out, has not yet been completed. So why is the government not being very honest for us? If you're also trying to tell us that the government is going to remove its intrusive involvement in the petroleum markets, let that happen. Let us see the government set up a chemical standard and then allow people to import, and whoever comes in should meet that standard. We've not yet gotten there. I'm aware the equalization has not been disbanded. That's why we're talking about the same pricing countrywide. Let it be truly free. It is not yet free. There are games government is playing. The government has been sole importer of petrol since 2016. And look at where we are. So I put that down to mismanagement of this petroleum importation business by the government.
Okay, so let me take you up on 2 points because the group CEO of the NNPC Limited now said that this government is promising that there would be at least one refinery working at optimal level by December. In addition to that, it was just yesterday that the downstream regulator announced that over 50 companies had been licensed to import PMS, which was effectively breaking the NNPCL's monopoly. So in terms of the difference, so if we're saying we're not there yet in your estimation, these are the things that we're now being told are happening or are in the pipeline. Let me use that word very loosely. Let's look at having other people being able to then bring in petrol into Nigeria, breaking this monopoly that has been in effect for a number of years now. What difference do you think that will make, given the fact that these are also businesses that are looking to make profits, and they will also factor in market forces or market determinant, whatever characteristics when it comes to even their own pricing? Does that really even guarantee that Nigerians will have more cost-effective fuel? I can't even use cheaper because there's an equation that goes into pricing what we get at the pump at the end of the day.
I do not believe the prices will be very bad. I think government removing itself from the distortions it has sustained over the years is a good thing. Let that competition in importation commence. Once it commences, we will see. What the government has to be very, very strong at is policing the chemical strengths and properties of the products that have been brought in. Let's not have people bring in low standard products and then because of the corruption we have in the system, it slips in. Once there is competition in importation, I give you my word, prices will fall. But right now you have just government. Let us also open up the different items that go in before we arrive at this current price. Let some of that be removed because there are a lot of items. Let it be product come in and then the importer pays duty if that's to be taken and he sells. What I'm saying right now is there are still a lot of add-ons that are put on top of the petrol before it hits the pump. A lot of those add-ons have to go. That's what I'm insisting.
Okay.
And once that goes, we'll begin to see a free energy market. I think removing the subsidy is a good thing. Now, if the APC administration didn't undermine our currency as they have done, we wouldn't be where we are. They borrow to spend. And that's part of the problems. All the round trippings, all the things that we've seen for the past 7 years, 8 years, and none of the captains in the APC complained. It has now come home to roost. And that's why we are suffering what we're suffering right now. Everything has been done in a very wrong way. So for me, that people talk about Nigeria being a big crime scene, that crime also goes to affect the petroleum importation and the petroleum racketing that's been handled by the NNPC exclusively since 2016. If we need to interrogate how we got here, we do not have to call product importers. It is only NNPC that's been responsible. So if you say we don't have money, why don't you interrogate all the monies that's been taken away and kept all along by NNPC? Because we're not hearing NNPC never paid any importer any subsidy. All the subsidy he paid itself. Let's interrogate those things. Look at just the problem we've had about the central bank issue too. For holding him for 1 month and then all the confessions he made, they don't want to interrogate that. Why? They're afraid that should they interrogate the confessions the central bank governor made, that they might start arresting those who brought Tinubu to power. These are the things that we say. If we don't ask proper questions about the past, there is no way that we will have the truth to be able to repair for tomorrow. We must start the interrogation.
All right, so we must start the interrogation now. So I want to go to something because I know what I've heard on radio today, what I've seen on social media, and Nigerians are asking questions. They're demanding answers right now because in terms of the impact of the fuel subsidy removal, we've seen what has happened in the past few weeks since the president's inaugural speech. And that was an absolute immediate impact on cost of living, immediate impact on transportation as well. But now when you now add this increase, which is almost about a 15% increase on the price of PMS at the pump, what do you think will be the further impact for the Nigerian who's trying to just simply make a daily living, for the daily lives of Nigerians, for the Nigerian economy, even as it is? And it's an economy that's struggling as it is right now.
Well, what I see is another phase in the mismanagement of economic plays. Remember, there was a time when President Tinubu and President Buhari were all protesting on the streets of Lagos against the removal of fuel subsidy. At that time they were doing that protest, the man who announced that removal actually provided palliatives. Today, where are the palliatives to augment the pains on the people of Nigeria? You are now telling us 8,000 Naira is a palliative you want to give to Nigerians, and then you are now giving billions to the judiciary, billions to also the legislature, just to bribe them. I think that's not proper. The people have no palliative. Those palliatives that President Goodluck talked about, the palliative that Peter Obi said he will provide, like speaking to other auto manufacturers and those that can bring in buses, to tell you how many buses they can bring in. You need to plot these things. How many buses can you bring on the Nigerian road that will ply at government's own determined prices? We didn't do all that. What did we do? We just brought pain on the people. And that's what I don't agree with. I believe that it makes sense to remove the subsidy, but you needed to plan before you remove the subsidy. What plan do we have? There is no plan. All we want to do is to now use money to bribe those who should talk, the judges, and you've heard what a lot of people said, that maybe the money being released is intended to be used for the rerun election, which is now up all over the air. So I believe there is still corruption and things are not well done. Where are the palliatives? It's now over a month, no palliatives. And so the prices have gone up through the roof. The people are suffering, and today they're hearing that the prices will further increase. The more you increase these prices, the more you take away the disposable income that could be in the hands of the people. And when they don't have anything, suffering deepens. So why is the APC administration taking people through all the sufferings with no plans to ameliorate the suffering and the pains that these policies bring? See, so governance is a continuum. Yes. And we think that this removal has not been properly handled. Okay, so
I want to take you back on that. Government is a continuum. It was the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari that did not make any budgetary allocation for subsidy past June. So when President Tinubu was speaking during his inaugural speech, it wasn't that he was necessarily announcing the removal of subsidy. He was just confirming what had already been put in place by the Buhari administration. But in regards to that, when we look at the current state of affairs, last year was a very, very difficult year for Nigeria. Debt servicing ended up overtaking whatever revenue or profit the government was making. We have that consideration on one side. We have the high cost of governance on the other side. We have the fact that we had oil revenue also decreasing on another side. Nigeria was not able to take advantage of the oil boom we saw earlier last year and mid last year that a number of other oil producers were able to take advantage of. So some would say it was a perfect storm, not in a teacup at this point, but in a bowl for Nigeria. So you had very little options when the Tinubu administration came in. So you're talking about, yes, remove subsidy, but not without a plan. Is this a timing situation? Would you have preferred that the Tinubu administration put forth a supplementary budget in order to continue the subsidy pending the time a plan was put in place, or pending the time at least one of the refineries was working optimally? How were they to have handled this situation?
Oh, well, you also, if you're talking about timing, I will tell you that the timing that forced the announcement and government's rush implementation or removal of subsidy was brought about by the government's careless borrowings. Where they were taking money, 800 million Buhari took. What was it for? $800 million. What was that for? They were just taking money, and you're not even asking questions about these people who are looting the money left, right, and center. So it was because of the source of that money that was being borrowed, the source from where it was being borrowed, and they were looting it. The source gave instructions. For me to give you more money, you must remove subsidy. So it's not like government wanted to remove subsidy on its own. It was an instruction. It was, if you want me to keep giving you money that you keep to borrow, you have to do this, you have to do that. Good. What is the money being used for? $800 million Buhari took 2 days to leave in office. What was it for? Where is it? These are questions you need to ask. Now we've seen that questions have been asked for over 1 month of Mr. Emefele's incarceration. And we now know Emefele confessed about how monies were stolen. But Tinubu does not have the strength to even bite. That's why I told you the last time, he could back, but he will not be able to bite because of the system that brought him into power. You have now heard what we're now saying. His lawyers are begging that he shouldn't be removed, that the law shouldn't be kept. So we should allow the damaging of the rule of law simply because somebody was dramatically installed as president. These are the issues. And he now thinks, as they brought him in, he's not going to ask questions. As they took money, he can't ask them questions because of the way they dramatically imposed him upon the system. And part of that is the monies that they looted, he's not going to query them. And because of that money they looted, and the source from where the money is coming from, those who are giving the money now gave this condition. For me to give you more money, you must do this. And that's why you see they didn't plan. So the idea of removing subsidy was not based on an economic plan. No, it was based on the insistence by those giving money to them that for you to get more money from me, you must stop doing this subsidy, because we believe the subsidy is an avenue where a lot of the monies that you get are stolen. And that is just the truth. So that's where we are. If Tinubu does not have the bone to bite, despite all this backing, then the country is in trouble. So what I'm saying, we're inside this mess due to corruption. Let us ask questions about those monies that were taken, that were looted. So you don't loot the money and then undermine our laws and then declare your man president when he didn't even have the 25% in Abuja, and he doesn't want to ask questions. Government is a continuum. President Tinubu should ask questions, ask for where Nigerian money is. He's not doing this subsidy because he wants to do the subsidy. No, he's doing the subsidy because where they go to get money, the people who give them the money are insisting that they must remove subsidy for them to be dashed more money. And that's why you're seeing this.
Okay, Dr. Ononoja, I want to take you up on that. And then you've mentioned now, of course, the court case or the tribunal case that is in front of the APC, Labour Party, as well as the PDP. And we are awaiting the court's judgment on that. But what you're referencing, or who you're referencing that you have not mentioned, is the World Bank. And that's where this $800 million is coming from. So with the former administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, yes, he approved it, or he was seeking for it, but it was put on hold. And now it's on the table of the Tinubu administration. So the president says we're borrowing $800 million to provide 8,000 to 12 million poor Nigerians for 6 months in order to cushion the impact of the subsidy. When you do the math, this comes to about 266 Naira per day. When we look at this cushioning effect that we're also talking about, the focus is often on the poor or even the most vulnerable. But in regards to this fuel subsidy removal, it leaves out the middle class. It leaves out small and medium scale business owners and businesses. It leaves out the working class. Labor has been very, very vocal on their demands in terms of what they want to see this, for them to continue to support the removal of subsidy. And as you've asked, it's been over a month now for us to really see genuine palliatives. But this question now, 8,000 Naira, what do you think it will cushion in a Nigeria that is currently facing annual inflation of 22.79% and some food inflation that has now risen to 25.25%. The majority of Nigerians spend more than 70% of their disposable income on food. But the president has also declared a state of emergency for agriculture and food. So in regards to this 8,000 naira per month to 12 million Nigerians, share your thoughts.
I will tell you, if you want to predict the future, study the past. The APC administration have done this before. They told us they were doing cash transfers, and nobody in my village got 10 kobo from those cash transfers. So I don't believe those things. I rather lean myself towards the words of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, that he believes those monies are being arranged so that they can use that to buy votes in the rerun that we are talking about. So I don't believe him, because if you were going to remove subsidy, you should have a plan. Where is the plan? You don't have a plan. Only now they tell you want to borrow. What will 8,000 naira do to anybody? What they should have done is to have called manufacturers like Innocent. How long can you give us, let's say, 10,000 or 8,000 buses? You and other manufacturers, how quickly can we get up to the 10,000, 12,000 buses on Nigerian roads? And then when they tell you that, and you start making your plans based on that. But you see, that's why I tell you, the idea of removing the subsidy is not based on economic plan. No, it is forced by the unbridled borrowing, which they borrowed, and they borrowed them to loot. Tinubu is not asking questions. This is where I am not very happy with what he's doing. The questions, let us use the confessions of Emefiele to try to go after those who took this money so that we can have some money to start to work. He doesn't even need to borrow. If those monies are returned, look at the guy who painted an aircraft just to dupe and take billions of our money. He doesn't want to say a thing on that. Look at that lady, the woman at Humanitarian Affairs, that was giving up money to herself, and we never saw anybody who got any money from her. Those are the things we are saying. Interrogate. Ask questions about where the people's money have gone. Don't keep quiet because you think those who have looted the money are those who have to impose you on Nigeria, even when you did not qualify to be declared president.
We'll leave that for a tribunal to decide, sir.
I'm speaking because I come from the tribunal. I was in the tribunal when the INEC man said that INEC declared the result and the winner with only 31% of the transmissions of results in. So what result did you base on to declare what you declared? And that's why I said, because of the process that brought Tinubu in is flawed, he doesn't seem to have that ability to ask questions, because those who brought him in, if he dares to do that, they could probably just start treating him the same way Chief Anini treated Governor Sumbo. Remember this? They will go to the tribunal to confess, look, through this man didn't win, this happened, that happened. Now look at it. So we are Nigerians and we must continue to ask questions. Mm-hmm. I have locus. That's why I can share these things with you. Okay? We're in court, and I'm telling you, I have worked very hard for us to have a better Nigeria, and I would not stop working that hard for us to have a better society. So if things go wrong, we will put our voices. I'm not just any Nigerian. I have locus to say this. I have locus to interrogate. I have locus to share with you the truth from my own part of the political divide. So what we are saying is, we see a lot of corruption. We doesn't need to borrow money. Let them get back the monies that have been taken and those who are running away with them. We have enough money we can retrieve. Nobody is asking questions. And you want to tell me everything is okay? No, I don't accept that. So I think Tinubu should ask questions. And if he wants us to actually believe that he's doing anything, he should, as they say, kick some asses. And for him to keep quiet, all that Emefiele confessed, told him about those who stole money, told him about how the money went, nothing happened. What is he doing? He wants to charge Emefiele that when they went to his house, they saw a gun. And yet, they're not saying anything about Asari Dokubo, who's showing them AK-47s on television screens. Don't you understand something is wrong? If you've not been able to ask Atari Dokubo where he got the guns that he's displaying on video, who are you to ask Emefiele what he's doing with a single gun that he kept in his home for safekeeping to also protect himself? Most people in his class, they do have those things.
Okay,
you don't tell me the central bank does not have capacity to have the license. So Tinubu does not have the capacity to bite. What he has been doing is back. So backing without biting is very simple. And by the way, I welcome the intervention of the U.S. authorities. The way they have now gone to the Supreme Court to also deny them those visas, I thank the U.S. government. This is a very, very good thing.
Dr. Nonaju.
No.
Okay, yes. I apologize for interrupting you. Because of time, I need us to circle back to the main focus of this conversation, which is, of course, on this fuel price hike now. So we are at this point where, even as I was coming to work, there are not massive queues, but some queues. But Nigerians are now having to decide between possibly filling their tanks, how they're going to move, and in some regards, even buying food for their homes. So I want to go to a question about Nigerians themselves as we wrap this up. We know we're likely going to hear a response or a statement from Labour in the coming days in regards to this, because Labour has been awaiting palliatives. But what do you think the response of Nigerians should be? We are at a time where we all agree subsidy must go. The conversation and the debate has been on how subsidy goes, when it goes, and what is put in place so that it's not as difficult for many people. But what do you think the response of Nigerians should be? We're not at a point where I think Labour might call people back on the streets, or what do you think?
The response from Nigerians should be, where are the palliatives? Why didn't you plan before this subsidy was removed? Were you just targeting money you would take from the Bretton Woods institution people? Also, you remove the subsidy without any plan, so that once they say the subsidy is gone and you go back to them to say, give us money, they will give you. That's simply what it is. The idea to remove subsidy is simply premised on an intention to go out and get some more, but not on an intention for governance. If it were for governance, where are the plans? The essence of governance is to plan, plot, execute in such a way that government policies like this do not add to the suffering of citizens. But right now, as you can see, the cost of living have gone up. And as far as I can tell you, it's not very good on anybody. I'm human too. The cost of fuel has gone up so much. Before, I used to fill my car with about 18,000. Today, I now fill my car with close to 65, 70,000 Naira to fill my tank. How many times can I do that? How much money do I have that I will spend 75,000 just to fill my tank, and that will last me for about 5 days? What about, look, it's a problem for everybody.
Yes.
But yes, but I tell you, it's a good thing that subsidy is removed. What is not good is planlessness from the APC administration. When they went against Goodluck Jonathan, when Goodluck removed the subsidy, Goodluck announced palliatives. Where is the APC palliative? How come local vehicle manufacturers are not being contacted? What is it doing? 8,000 Naira will not do anything for anybody. So where will it take you to? What is the cost from going from east to the west? Let's say if you're going to market to go buy things or travel back to your village. Which bus drivers are taking 8,000 now on those long distance journeys? So I don't see what 8,000 Naira can do for an average family in Nigeria. I believe that you provide palliatives like vehicles. Talk to the local manufacturers. If you get vehicles from them, if they tell you they're going to get you vehicle, they could increase employment, and then use that to also increase their output. So they make money, we get more people employed. It's a win-win for Nigerians, but we're not hearing that from the APC administration. They just want to tell us they will do cash transfers again, and we don't see the money. And who are you bribing? You're bribing the judiciary, money that has not been budgeted for. You're bribing the legislature for money that has not been budgeted for. And then the real people, the bulk of the population, they have nothing. You're giving the 8,000. 8,000 for how many families? 12 families? 12 million.
12 million.
Yet we have close to 90 million people living under the poverty rate. So what would we do with all those people?
I think you're giving me questions that we all look forward to hearing answers from the Tinubu administration and those, of course, who are speaking for them. Unfortunately, because of time, I do have to let you go, Dr. Ononaju. But it's a conversation that will continue. Today, the impact is being felt. Tomorrow, it will be felt. We're feeling it in the inflation figures. We're feeling it in the food prices. And unfortunately, the trajectory doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. Dr. Catch Ononaju, thank you so much for joining me. We'll be seeing you again soon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And questions, of course, that many are also asking in terms of these 12 million families. Who are they? Where are they? How do we determine who is poor in Nigeria? How do we even ensure that this palliative of 8,000 Naira monthly for 6 months will be spread well and proportionately across the country? And can 8,000 really do anything in the situation that Nigerians and Nigeria find themselves as we see a further increase in PMS price today? You're watching Politics HQ. We're going to shift gears a little bit when we come back now. The spotlight falls on the All Progressives Congress and some internal happenings in the party. Stay with us.